The vibrations of the transport ship's engines cut through Thorson Hayes' unconsciousness. His eyes fluttered open, vision blurred, head pounding with the remnants of whatever drug they'd used to subdue him. The restraints bit into his wrists as he tried to move. Careful, human. Those are designed to tighten with resistance. Thorson squinted toward the voice. A tall, slender figure moved into view, skin the color of pale amethyst, with features both vulpine and feminine. Silver markings traced her temples and disappeared into a mane of what looked like fibrous silver hair. "Where am I?" His voice cracked, throat dry as Martian sand. "Where's the rest of the delegation?" The alien woman checked something on a holographic display emanating from her wrist. "You're aboard a transport to Nexus Station. As for your delegation..." She paused, ears flattening slightly against her head. "I'm afraid they're dead. The diplomatic summit was a trap." Memories flooded back in fragments. The approach to the galactic conclave, the sudden power failure, boarding parties swarming their ship. He'd fought, they all had, but they were outnumbered. Captain Reyes, Commander Dillon, even the civilian translator, all cut down. And now he was... what? A prisoner. "Who are you?" he demanded. "I am Tyra, medical officer assigned to processing." She approached with a small device. "Hold still. I need to check your vitals." Thorson jerked away, instinct overriding reason. Tyra sighed. "Your species is remarkably stubborn. This won't hurt you. Quite the opposite, I'm documenting injuries to ensure proper treatment." Her large eyes, amber with vertical pupils, reflected no malice. "You're much more valuable alive and healthy." Valuable. The word struck like a fist. "I'm a representative of Earth, a diplomatic officer with..." "Not anymore." She ran the scanner over his body, focusing on his head. "Now you're property of the Nexus Coliseum." Thorson froze. The Nexus Coliseum. He'd heard whispers about it during briefings. An illegal fighting arena where captives from hundreds of worlds were forced to battle for the entertainment of the wealthy and corrupt. A place no one returned from. There must be some mistake. Contact Earth's embassy. "There is no Earth embassy here." Tyra's voice softened, revealing a hint of compassion she seemed to be trying to hide. "Officially, your ship was lost in an asteroid collision. No survivors." The realization hit him like a physical blow. They were written off. No rescue would come. Tyra continued her scan, pausing at a deep gash across his shoulder. "This needs treatment." From a small case, she extracted what appeared to be a silvery gel, spreading it across the wound. The pain vanished instantly, replaced by a tingling sensation. "Why are you helping me?" Thorson asked, watching the wound begin to close before his eyes. Tyra's ear twitched, a subtle tell he couldn't yet interpret. "Because tomorrow they'll throw you into the arena, and I dislike waste." She leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper. "You're strong for a human. When the gate opens, don't hesitate. Strike first, aim for the breathing apparatus beneath the jaw. It's the only vulnerability a Crothian has." Before Thorson could respond, the door slid open. Two hulking figures entered, reptilian, heavily armored with shock prods at the ready. "Processing complete," Tyra announced, stepping back. "Subject is ready for holding." As the guards unshackled him from the table, only to bind his hands in front of him. Tyra's eyes met his for a brief moment. There was something there, a message, a connection, a spark of something unexpected that would soon grow into a flame. They dragged him down a series of corridors until reaching a cellular block. Dozens of containment fields glowed with captives of various species. Some paced nervously. Others sat in meditation. A few lay motionless in apparent surrender to their fate. The guards shoved him into an empty cell, the energy barrier snapping into place behind him. "Rest, will he, human?" One guard sneered in broken standard. "Tomorrow, you'd die for glory." Thorson spent the night analyzing his surroundings, searching for weaknesses, planning escape routes, but finding none. The containment field was impenetrable. The only way out would be when they took him to the arena. And so when morning came, artificial lighting simulating dawn, he was ready. Not to escape, but to survive. To learn. To bide his time. The arena was vast, a circular pit surrounded by rising tiers of seats filled with thousands of spectators of dozens of species. Overhead, massive holographic displays showed close-ups of the combatants' statistics and betting odds. Thorson noted with grim humor that his odds of survival were listed at 50-1. His opponent emerged from the opposite gate, a hulking Crothian, as Tyra had warned, nearly 3 meters tall, covered in natural armor plating with multiple limbs ending in serrated claws. Thorson remembered Tyra's words. The breathing apparatus beneath the jaw, his only chance. A deafening horn signaled the start of combat. The Crothian charged, immediately, mandibles clicking in anticipation of an easy kill. Thorson waited until the last possible moment before diving to the side, rolling beneath the creature's guard. Years of Special Forces training took over. He grabbed a handful of sand from the arena floor, flinging it upward as he rolled to his feet. The Crothian bellowed as particles hit its compound eyes. The crowd roared as Thorson used the momentary distraction to strike, driving his fist upward into the soft tissue beneath the Crothian's jaw, exactly where Tyra had indicated. The creature gasped, its breathing apparatus collapsing. It staggered, clawing desperately at its throat, before crashing to the ground. Silence fell over the arena. Then a single spectator stood applauding. Others followed until the entire Colosseum thundered with approval. The human had won against impossible odds. Blood-spattered and panting, Thorson scanned the arena's medical station. There she was, Tyra watching him with an expression of mingled surprise and something else. Relief, admiration. Their eyes locked across the distance, and in that moment, a connection formed that neither fully understood yet. The next weeks blurred into a rhythm of survival. Each day brought new opponents. Each night brought new pain, but also brief moments with Tyra as she treated his wounds. Their conversations grew from cautious to comfortable to conspiratorial. "You're becoming quite the celebrity," she noted one evening, treating a nasty burn on his forearm. "They're calling you Earth's champion now." "I'd rather be Earth's diplomat," he replied grimly. "You've survived 6 matches. That's unprecedented for your species. Thanks to your advice." Tyra's ears twitched, a gesture he now recognized as discomfort or uncertainty. "It's dangerous to help you." "Then why do it?" She hesitated, then spoke softly. "Because this place, what they do here, it's wrong. And you?" Her amber eyes met his. "You fight differently than the others, not just for survival. You fight with purpose. I fight because I have no choice." "We all have choices," she said, applying a healing compress to his arm, even in captivity. That night, she slipped him something hidden in his bandages, a small data chip. "Guard schedules, arena layout, security protocols," she whispered. "Memorize and destroy it." "You're risking everything," he said. "Perhaps." Her hand lingered on his. "But for the first time since I came to this place, I don't feel invisible anymore." As Thorson's victory count mounted, he was moved to better quarters, granted small privileges. The arena masters, particularly the reptilian Magrin, who seemed to run the day-to-day operations, recognized his value as an entertainment asset. "The crowds love you, human," Magrin hissed during a rare direct meeting. "Keep winning, and perhaps one day you'll earn your freedom." "Is that actually possible?" Thorson asked. Magrin's lipless mouth curved in what might have been a smile. 20 victories earns a combatant the right of release. Only 3 have ever achieved it. He leaned closer. "You're at 12. Perhaps you'll be the 4th. Hope was dangerous, but Thorson allowed himself a small measure of it. Freedom meant the possibility of returning to Earth, of exposing the truth, of perhaps even coming back with enough force to shut down the Colosseum permanently. And then there was Tyra. Their moments together had evolved into something neither had anticipated. Cultural barriers fell away in the face of their growing bond, forged in blood and survival, but blossoming into something deeper. "If I earn my freedom," he said to her one night, "you could come with me." "It's not that simple." Her expression clouded. "There are things about me you don't know." "Tell me," he urged. She hesitated, then shook her head. "Not yet. It's safer if you don't know." Before Thorson could press, further alarms blared throughout the complex. Tyra jumped to her feet. "Security lockdown. I have to go." "Wait." But she was already gone, leaving Thorson with unanswered questions and a growing sense of dread. The next day, she didn't come to treat his wounds after his 13th victory, nor the day after when he claimed his 14th. By his 15th triumph, dread had hardened into certainty. Something had happened to Tyra. It was Alira who finally came to him, another Vulparian female, but with darker markings and a military bearing. "Where is Tyra?" Thorson demanded. Alira glanced at the surveillance devices, then suddenly produced a device that emitted a soft hum. "Scrambler," she explained quietly. "We have about 2 minutes." "Who are you?" "Tyra's bodyguard, her real one, not these arena thugs." "Real one? I don't understand." Alira's expression hardened. "The woman you know as Tyra is Princess Tyraliana of House Solaris, heir to the Vulparian stellar throne. She was here undercover investigating rumors of noble houses trafficking in sentient beings." The revelation hit Thorson like a physical blow. Tyra, a princess. Where is she now? Captured. Her identity was discovered. Lord Droskar, the true power behind this arena, has taken her to Crisia Prime. He intends to force a genetic bonding ceremony that will give him claim to the Vulparian throne. Thorson felt sick. When the celestial alignment required for the ceremony occurs in 7 days, after that, she left the consequences unspoken. "I need to get to her." Lyra nodded. "That's why I'm here. Tyra believed in you, said you were different." She produced a small communicator. "Win your freedom, champion of Earth. Then activate this. It will signal us and will help you reach Crisia Prime." 5 more victories in 7 days, Thorson murmured. "It's never been done. Make it happen," Alira said simply before deactivating the scrambler and departing. The next 5 days were a blur of blood and determination. Thorson fought like a man possessed, taking on multiple opponents, volunteering for the most dangerous matches, risking everything for speed. The crowd's adoration reached fever pitch as he battled his way toward the unprecedented 20 victories in record time. On the 6th day, battered but undefeated, he faced his final challenge. 3 previous champions simultaneously. The odds were impossible, but Thorson no longer cared about odds. He cared only about Tyra. The battle was brutal. He suffered a broken rib, a dislocated shoulder, and countless lacerations. But in his mind, he saw Tyra's face, heard her voice, felt her touch. He fought not just for survival now, but for her. When the last opponent fell, the Colosseum erupted in chaos. No human had ever achieved champion status. Magron himself entered the arena presenting Thorson with the Blade of Liberation, the symbolic token of freedom. "You have earned the right of departure, champion of Earth," Magron announced, his amplified voice echoing throughout the complex. "Name your destination and transport will be provided." Thorson, blood-soaked and barely standing, looked directly into the arena master's eyes. "I claim the ancient right of the champion's gold to summon fellow warriors for a final mission." Murmurs spread through the crowd. The champion's call was rarely invoked, an obscure tradition from the Colosseum's early days. Magron's expression darkened. "You are entitled to this, yes. Choose your warriors, then." Thorson selected carefully Xanthos, an insectoid warrior with unparalleled loyalty. Krex, a mountain of muscle with a surprising strategic mind. And Linnea, a shadow walker whose stealth was legendary. That night, as they gathered in the champion's quarters, Thorson activated Alira's communicator. "You did it?" Her voice came through. A ship will meet you at the southern port. Docking Bay 9. What's our plan? Asked Krex. Thorson looked at his assembled team. We're going to Crecia Prime to stop a royal abduction. Xanthos clicked his mandibles in agitation. You claimed the call for a rescue mission, not treasure or glory. Something far more valuable, Thorson replied. To his surprise, Xanthos extended a limb in a gesture of respect. Then you have my blade until death human. Honor demands no less. They departed the next morning, ostensibly for a ceremonial final hunt, a tradition for departing champions. Instead, they rendezvoused with Elira's sleek Vulparian scout ship and set course for Crecia Prime. We can't approach directly, Elira explained, displaying a holographic map of Droskar's fortress. His defenses would detect any ship entering atmosphere. We'll drop at the edge of this jungle region and approach on foot. What about inside intel? Linnea asked, her translucent skin shifting with her mood. We have one agent still in place, Elira confirmed. They'll meet us at the eastern perimeter. The jungle of Crecia Prime was a nightmarish tangle of predatory flora and toxic fauna. Twice they nearly lost team members to carnivorous vines. A swarm of needle-winged insects left Krex delirious with fever for hours. But the greatest challenge awaited at Droskar's perimeter outpost, an unexpected checkpoint, with security far beyond what Elira's intelligence had indicated. We need access to their systems, Thorson said, surveying the heavily fortified position. If we can get inside, I can download the fortress schematics. Leave that to me. Linnea volunteered, her body already beginning to adapt to the colors of the surrounding foliage. The infiltration was successful, too successful. Linnea returned with not just schematics but devastating news. The ceremony has been moved up, she reported, her normally calm voice edged with urgency. It's happening tomorrow at dawn, not in 2 days as we thought. That's impossible, Elira protested. The celestial alignment. They're using artificial means to simulate the alignment, Linnea explained. Some kind of quantum field technology. So we go now, Thorson decided. No more waiting. They advanced under cover of darkness, following a ravine that Linnea's stolen data indicated was a blind spot in the perimeter sensors. Progress was agonizingly slow, every step calculated. They were halfway to the fortress when Krex suddenly stiffened. We're being tracked, he growled. Before anyone could respond, a high-pitched whine filled the air. Linnea gasped, clutching her throat as blood poured from a precision wound. Ambush! Xanthos clicked, pulling Thorson down as projectiles whizzed overhead. From the darkness emerged a figure in stealth armor, visible only by the faint outline against the night sky, a professional assassin. The security chief must have hired independent contractors, Elira hissed, returning fire. They weren't on any duty roster. Linnea was gone, her body already cooling. Krex took a hit to his shoulder, the wound smoking from some kind of acid projectile. The path is lost, Xanthos declared grimly. We must create a new one. He turned to Thorson. Continue with Elira. I will hold them here. There are too many, Thorson protested. Xanthos's compound eyes gleamed in the darkness. My species lives for the perfect death human. This is mine. Now go save your princess. Before Thorson could argue further, Xanthos launched himself toward the attackers, all four arms wielding blades, his exoskeleton armor gleaming in the flashes of weapon fire. Thorson, Elira, and the wounded Krex used the diversion to push forward, the sounds of Xanthos's last stand fading behind them. They reached the outer walls of the fortress as dawn's first light crept over the horizon. Krex can't continue, Elira said, examining his wound. The acid is spreading. Krex nodded grimly. I'll hold this position. Create an extraction path for your return. Thorson clasped the warrior's massive hand. We'll be back. Go get your female human, Krex rumbled. Some things are worth dying for. With Elira leading, Thorson infiltrated the fortress through a maintenance tunnel. Security was lighter than expected. Most forces had been diverted to ceremonial duties. The main chamber is 3 levels up, Elira whispered, consulting a small holographic display. The ceremony will be heavily guarded. What exactly is this genetic bonding ceremony? Thorson asked as they ascended through the fortress. Elira's expression darkened. An ancient Vulparian tradition, rarely used in modern times. It creates an irreversible genetic link between royal bloodlines. Once completed, Tyra would be bound to Droskar for life, giving him legitimate claim to her throne. And if she resists, the process doesn't require consent. Elira's voice was tight with barely controlled rage. Only genetic material and the proper ritual conditions. They reached the upper levels to find them crawling with Droskar's elite guards. Taking them head-on would be suicide. There, Elira pointed to a decorative ventilation shaft. It leads directly to the ceremonial chamber. The shaft was narrow, barely wide enough for Thorson to squeeze through. Elira, smaller and more lithe, moved ahead easily. I'll create a diversion from the observation gallery, she whispered. When you hear the commotion drop directly into the main chamber. Thorson nodded, sweat stinging his eyes as he inched forward. The shaft opened to a small grate overlooking an enormous domed room. Below, dozens of robed figures surrounded a central platform where 2 crystalline pods stood. In one pod stood Tyra, her royal heritage now evident in her ceremonial attire. Her face was a mask of defiance, despite the restraints binding her. In the other pod stood a tall regal figure that could only be Lord Droskar. His scaled skin, a deep crimson, elaborate cybernetic augmentations gleaming along his spine and skull. The alignment approaches, announced a robed officiant. Prepare the genetic extraction sequence. Tyra's voice rang out clear and commanding despite her captivity. This union is invalid under Vulparian law. I do not consent, and the royal house will never recognize Droskar's claim. Droskar laughed, the sound like stone grinding on metal. Your consent is irrelevant, princess. Only your genetics matter, and soon they will be bound to mine for eternity. A low hum filled the chamber as machinery beneath the platform activated. The crystals of both pods began to glow with increasing intensity. Thorson searched desperately for Elira's diversion, but saw no sign of movement in the observation gallery. Begin the extraction, Droskar commanded. Tyra's pod illuminated with blinding light as she cried out in pain. The genetic extraction had begun. There was no more time. No diversion was coming. Thorson slammed his body against the grate with all his remaining strength. Metal shrieked as it gave way, and he plummeted into the ceremonial chamber below. He landed, hard combat instincts already propelling him toward Tyra's pod. Guards shouted, weapons were drawn, but Thorson focused solely on reaching her. Stop him, Droskar roared. 2 guards blocked his path. Thorson dispatched them with practiced efficiency, a strike to the throat of one a leg sweep, and skull-crushing blow to the other. He reached the pod controls and smashed them with his elbow, causing the crystal enclosure to shudder and crack. Through the fracturing crystal, he saw Tyra's eyes widen in recognition. Then, to his astonishment, she produced a thin ceremonial dagger from within her robes, somehow smuggled past her captors. The pod shattered as system failures cascaded through the machinery. Tyra emerged, slashing her blade across the nearest guard's throat in a single fluid motion. Back to back, the human gladiator and Vulparian princess stood against the closing circle of enemies. You came for me, she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. Always, Thorson replied. Droskar bellowed in fury, stepping from his own pod. Kill them both. The genetic material is already extracted. I need only her body, not her life. The battle that followed would later be recounted in Vulparian epic poetry. Outnumbered 20-1, Thorson and Tyra fought with desperate coordination, as if they had trained together for years. His raw power complemented her speed and precision. Where he created openings, she struck with lethal accuracy. Droskar, seeing his guards falling, activated his cybernetic enhancements. His body transformed mechanical components, extending into lethal weapons, his size nearly doubling. "I will finish this myself," he growled, advancing on them. Thorson met him head-on, absorbing a blow that would have crushed a lesser man. He staggered back, ribs cracking, but managed to grapple one of Droskar's mechanical arms. "Tyra the Power Core," he shouted, recognizing the glowing component at the center of Droskar's cybernetic spine. Tyra darted forward, royal dagger, aimed for the vulnerable spot, but Droskar anticipated the move. A mechanical appendage whipped around, catching her mid-leap and sending her crashing into a control panel. Droskar turned back to Thorson, mechanical fingers closing around his throat. "You should have stayed in the arena, human. You were valuable there. Here you are nothing." Thorson's vision began to darken as Droskar's grip tightened. Through fading consciousness, he saw Tyra rise, blood streaming from a gash above her eye. With a cry that seemed to channel generations of royal Vulparian warriors, she leapt onto Droskar's back, driving her dagger deep into his power core. Blue energy erupted from the wound. Droskar's cybernetics malfunctioned, his grip on Thorson loosening. Thorson dropped to his knees, gasping for air, as Droskar staggered backward, systems failing. "This changes nothing," Droskar snarled, even as his body began to shut down. "The extraction is complete. My supporters will—" His words were cut short as the chamber doors burst open. Royal Vulparian guards stormed in, led by an imposing figure whose markings identified him as High Military Command. "Secure Lord Droskar," the commander ordered. "And the genetic material." Tyra rushed to Thorson's side, supporting him as he struggled to stand. "You're injured," she murmured, examining the bruising already forming on his throat. "Worth it," he managed to rasp. The commander approached and bowed deeply. "Princess Tyraliana, the royal fleet received your bodyguard's emergency signal. We came as quickly as possible." "Elira?" Thorson asked. The commander's expression grew somber. "She fell in the observation gallery, buying time for reinforcements to arrive. Her sacrifice will be honored among our greatest heroes." Tyra closed her eyes briefly, acknowledging the loss of her faithful protector. When she opened them again, they shone with renewed purpose. "Destroy the genetic material extracted from me," she commanded, "and prepare Lord Droskar for trial before the Stellar Council." As the royal guards carried out her orders, she turned back to Thorson. "You crossed galaxies and left a trail of bodies to reach me," she said softly, her hand gentle against his bruised face. "Why?" Thorson looked into her amber eyes, the eyes that had first connected with his, across an arena stained with blood. "Because some things are worth fighting for." Before the assembled witnesses of both Droskar's conspirators and her own royal guard, Tyra made a declaration that would change the course of galactic politics forever. "I claim this human Thorson Hayes of Earth as my chosen mate under the ancient law of combat devotion. Let it be recorded in the royal archives that he has proven his worth through trial by combat rescue of royal blood and defeat of a royal enemy." Gasps echoed through the chamber. The rite of combat devotion was an ancient tradition rarely invoked in modern times, allowing a royal to choose a mate based on proven worthiness rather than political alliance. "Princess," the commander protested, "the council will accept my choice as is my right by law and tradition." Tyra interrupted her tone, allowing no argument. "Now get us off this wretched planet." 1 year later, Thorson stood at a viewport in the royal palace on Vulparia, watching ships of the newly formed Earth-Vulparian Alliance conduct joint exercises in orbit. "Admiral Hayes," Tyra's voice came from behind him. "The Earth ambassador has arrived for the treaty signing." Thorson turned to face his mate, now his wife by both Vulparian tradition and Earth ceremony. As royal consort, he had been instrumental in forging the unprecedented alliance between their worlds. "Any word from the border patrols?" he asked. Tyra's expression grew serious. 3 more outposts have gone silent. The Shadow Pact is growing bolder." The Shadow Pact. A coalition of systems loyal to Droskar's vision, now led by his brother Magrax. Though Droskar himself remained imprisoned, his followers had transformed into something more dangerous, an ideological movement opposed to cooperation between species. The Council is still hesitant to commit to military action, Tyra continued. They believe diplomacy can still prevail. Thorson drew her close, his hand resting on the ceremonial blade she now wore openly at her hip, the same blade that had helped save them both. Then we'll try diplomacy, he agreed, but we'll prepare for battle. Tyra smiled, resting her head against his chest. From arena slaves to architects of peace, who would have imagined? And yet peace remains fragile, Thorson observed, watching the distant starships. If war comes again, Tyra said with quiet determination, we will face it together, as we have faced everything since that first moment in the medical bay. Thorson nodded, remembering the long journey that had brought them here, the blood, the pain, the sacrifices of those like Xanthos and Alira. A journey that had begun with a captured diplomat and a compassionate medic and culminated in an alliance that could reshape the galaxy. Together, he agreed, as the stars of two worlds shone above them.